All right, we're going to take a look at 1.1 here, which is going to be solving multi-step equations. Some of this might be a review for some of you. You may have seen some pieces before, and there might be other ways to do this that you prefer, and if that's the case, you're certainly welcome to use whatever method is best for you, but I'm going to show you some strategies that work for most students. So at the top, you can see there's some steps for solving multi-step equations and isolating the variable, because ultimately that's what our goal is here. Our goal is to isolate whatever the variable is that they're asking for, right? Solve for x or solve for y or whatever the variable is. And these are our steps that are shown here, and they don't always have to be followed in this exact order, right? But I think that sometimes if you use this order, it's going to be the easiest. So the first thing there is to distribute, right? We've seen that with parentheses. And then the next thing is a fraction bomb, which is to eliminate the fractions. And so that's something that I'll show you how to do, that we do in my class. And if you have a different method, you're welcome to use it, but most students like this method. And then we have combine like terms if they're on different sides of the equal sign, undo addition or subtraction using inverse operations, and finally undo multiplication using division. So we'll kind of reference that as we go. You can use that kind of as a checklist, right? You're not going to use all of those pieces all the time. Let's jump into it. Here's 1a. So we're trying to solve for x here, right? So solving for the variable. We can see there's nothing to distribute and there's no fractions, so I don't need to do either of that, right? But we do have x's that are both on the left side of the equal sign, right? We can think of the equal sign here, okay? The left side of the equal sign, we have negative x plus 3x gives me a positive 2x, and then we have plus 7, and then equals 3. And now I want to go ahead and undo addition or subtraction. So in this case, I'm going to undo this addition by subtracting 7, which gives me 2x equals negative 4. And now I'm going to undo that multiplication with division. So I'm going to divide by 2, and I end up with x equals negative 2. All right, moving on to letter B. Again, no distribution and no fraction, so I don't need to worry about that. I do have some like terms that are on the left side here. I've got a 21 and a negative 17, right? Those are just constants, just numbers. So I can go ahead and combine those things. So 21 minus 17 gives me 4 plus 4d equals 0. And now I'm trying to get d by itself, so I want to get rid of this positive 4. So I'm going to do that by subtracting 4 to both sides, which gives me 4d equals negative 4. And that's going to be divide by 4 to both sides. So d equals negative 1. All right, sliding over to letter C. Same idea here, right? We've got a y and a negative 5y that are both on the left side of the equal sign here. So I'm going to combine those first. So y minus 5y leaves me with negative 4y, and I have a minus 13 equals 19. And now I want to go ahead and undo this subtraction by adding 13 to both sides. That gives me negative 4y equals, let's see, put those together, that's going to be 32. And then divide both sides by negative 4. And I end up with y equals, remember, positive divided by a negative gives me a negative number. So that's negative 8. All right, we slide all the way over to letter D. Okay, and this one is where we start to have some distribution. So I'm going to start by distributing, because we've got those parentheses there. That's my clue. So I'm going to distribute the 3 to everything on the inside. Okay, and that's going to give me 3 times 7, which is 21. Plus 3 times 2r, which is 6r, equals 33. And now I'm going to go ahead and solve for r. I want to get rid of this 21, and right now it's positive, so to get rid of it, I'm going to subtract 21 from both sides. So I get 6r equals 33 minus 21, which is 12. And then go ahead and divide by 6. And I get r equals 2. We'll keep going to letter E. Same idea here, right? We've got some distribution, so I'm going to start there. Distribute the -2. So I get -2x. -2 times 4 is -8 equals -12. Go ahead and get rid of this -8 by adding 8 to both sides. So I get -2x equals -4. Then divide both sides by -2. And here we've got a negative divided by a negative, which remember turns out to be a positive, and 4 divided by 2 is just 2. All right, we'll keep moving here. Letter F. For this one, I'm going to go ahead and distribute a -5. So I get -5 times -2. Negative times a negative is a positive 10. And then -5 times -y, which is a positive 5y, equals 10. I want to get rid of this 10 because I'm trying to isolate y, right? Trying to get y by itself. So I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides. And I get 5y equals 0, which is fine, right? 0 is just a number. And I'm going to go ahead and divide by 5. And I get y equals 0 divided by 5. Well, 0 divided by anything is still just 0. All right, keep going here. Now we get to letter G, and this is where we start to have some fractions. And so we're going to use that fraction bomb method, and you don't have to use this if you don't want to, but I think it's convenient because it helps you to eliminate the fractions. So the first thing I'm going to figure out is what is the LCD, the least common denominator. And so for this one, let's do this. So for this one, if I look at my denominators, the common denominator there is 6. So I have this LCD of 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply every piece of this equation. So every term, I'm going to multiply by 6 in the numerator. Right, so I'm multiplying all the numerators, even on the right side of the equal sign. Notice that even on the right side of the equal sign, I'm still multiplying by 6. That's how I keep it even. That's why I'm allowed to do it. And so now I have 1 times 6, which is just 6 over 2, plus 3 times 6, which is 18 over 3, minus x times 6, which is 6x over 6, equals 5 times 6, which is 30. And so now it looks like the fractions just got bigger, which is obviously not what we want, but you're going to see that all these fractions are going to start to reduce. So check this out. 6 divided by 2, that's just 3, plus 18 over 3, which is 6, minus, well, 6 over 6, those cancel out, right? Just leave me minus x equals 30. And now I have no more fractions, right? Because I multiplied by that LCD, and I'm ready to solve for x. So 3 plus 6 is 9 minus x equals 30. I'm going to subtract positive 9. And I get negative x equals 21. I still need to get rid of this negative sign, so I'm going to divide by a -1 to both sides. And negative and negative is now positive x equals negative 21. All right, let's try that one more time with the fraction bombs. So again, I have fractions here. I want to get rid of them. So I'm going to figure out the least common denominator. Well, the only denominator here is 4, so that makes it easy. So I'm going to put, this is the LCD, is 4. And I'm going to go ahead and multiply all of the numerators by 4. Every single piece, I'm multiplying by 4, all the terms. So it looks like this. 2x times 4 turns into 8x, minus, this becomes 4 over 4 equals 28 over 4. And now those fractions should reduce. So we're going to end up with 8x minus 1 equals 7. And now I'm going to go ahead and add 1 to the other side. So I get 8x equals 8. Divide both sides by 8. And I get x equals 1. And we'll keep going to letter I. Letter I, if you check out on the right side of the equal sign, we have some like terms. We've got 4x and negative 2x, so I'm going to combine those over there. 4x minus 2x is still 2x, and we got a plus 13 equals, this is going to be negative 5x minus 2. I'm going to get my x's together, so I'm going to get them together. So I'm going to go ahead and add 5x from the left to the right. And you could also subtract 2x the other direction if you prefer that. So those are going to cancel out, and I get negative 2 equals 7x plus 13. Okay, remember I'm trying to isolate x, so that means I want to get rid of this positive 13, so I'm going to subtract 13. That's going to give me 7x equals negative 15. And then I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 7. And I get x equals negative 15 over 7. And you can leave it like that, improper fraction. If they ask for a decimal on your homework, then you should evaluate it, but that's fine for now. All right, let's move to example 2a. This says determine if we have one solution, right, which is what we had in all these, right? These are one solutions here. All these problems have been one solution because we get x equals number. Many solutions, which we haven't got to yet, or no solution. Okay, so we'll check this out. We'll start this thing the same way. I'm going to distribute where I can. So 2 times a is 2a minus 8 equals 4a. Notice I'm going to distribute, but I'm only distributing the negative sign because that's what's attached to the parentheses. The 4a is separate, so don't distribute the 4a. That's a common mistake. So we end up with negative 2a minus 4. Now we can start to combine some like terms on the right here. So 4a and negative 2a, I can combine those. That gives me a 2a minus 4 equals 2a minus 8. I want to get my a's together. This is a positive 2a, so I'm going to subtract 2a from both sides so that those cancel out. But then we're going to notice here what's going to happen is these a's over here, so these variables are also canceling out. So all the variables are canceling out, which just leaves me negative 8 equals negative 4, right? And so we have to ask ourselves, is this true or false? Well, negative 8 doesn't equal negative 4. That's a false statement. So that means that this equation has no solutions. So if we get a false statement like this, right, all the variables are gone, we get a false statement, that means that we have no solutions. Let's slide over to letter B. Letter B, we start with some distribution. So I've got 5y plus 2 equals, well, 1/2 times 10, so that's going to give me 5y. Plus 1/2 of 4 is 2. Okay, we can see where this is headed here, so I'm going to get my y's together, so I'm going to subtract 5y from both sides. So these y's cancel out. And then we're noticing over here that these y's also cancel out. And so we end up with 2 equals 2. And now we have to ask ourselves, okay, there's no variables. So is this a true statement or a false statement? Well, this is a true statement, right? 2 does equal 2. So that means we have infinitely many solutions. And we'll go to the last one. So on this one, letter C, start with some distribution. Again, distributing a negative sign. I get 4 minus d equals negative d plus 4, right? A negative times a negative 4 is a positive 4. I want to get d's on the same side, so I'm going to add d. Negative d plus d, those cancel out. Negative d plus d, those cancel out. And I get 4 equals 4. Again, all the variables are gone, so I ask myself, is this true or false? This is true, because 4 does equal 4, which means we have many solutions.